Hi, it's Katie D here at the Well Studio, and today I'm going to take you through a quick body weight workout that you can do at home with little to no equipment. So first things first, we're going to get our feet stretched out a little bit. If you saw my last video going through the importance of how our ankle and arch works to support our lower body, make sure you check that out, and this is just a great continuation of that. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my small tennis ball. You can use a regular sized tennis ball or any soft kind of ball that you have at home. And what we're going to do is gently press from the ball of our big toe towards your heel. And you really control how much pressure you're putting here. You want to feel like a nice massage, not pressing so hard that it takes your breath away. And all we're doing here is starting to check in on the muscles and tendons on the bottom of the foot so they can really engage properly as we're working out. There's no need to push into the heel. There's a lot of nerve endings there, so that might feel a little bit uncomfortable. And then as you switch sides, start to notice, does one side feel a little bit tighter than the other? Does one have a stickier spot than the other? And you can spend maybe 30 seconds here, a minute, 2 minutes, really whatever feels the best for you. And then as you're working again, just seeing which side maybe needs a little bit more attention. After we finish with that, we're going to work on our foot screw to now warm up the feet a little bit more. Again, if you saw the last video, we worked on that a lot. And today we're going to use it to help get the feet warmed up. So with our foot screw, we're going to bring one knee in. I'm going to gently push down on my big toe, ball of the big toe. I'm going to pivot around that. As I'm doing that, I'm splaying out my toes and then gently bringing my heel back down. As you're going, you want to maintain weight in that big toe and ball of that big toe so that you start to feel the arch of your foot activate and warm up. As you're spinning your foot, you want to stop when your hip and knee reach the front and bringing that heel down nice and parallel, making sure you really get your heel all the way back down. And then let's go ahead and switch sides. And you'll find one side has a little bit more challenge doing this, and that's okay. That's what we want to do, one side at a time. Because this is a pretty gentle exercise, if you're someone who has a lot of foot pain or maybe you're getting some bunions going on in the feet, this is an exercise you can actually do on a pretty regular basis, a couple times a week, to help gently stretch and strengthen your feet. Let's go ahead and do one more. Now, as we're working today, I want you to keep trying to find that same feeling in the arch of your foot so that you know you're giving yourself a really solid platform to work off of. Join me on the ground. We're going to start with some body weight bridges. Of course, if you're working at home and you want to add a band or dumbbells to this, you absolutely can. When we're laying down, and you want to first make sure you still find a nice, solid, strong footing. From here, rather than just lifting my hips straight up, I'm going to focus on the front of my hips, first scooping towards my rib cage. Get that little pelvic tilt going. If you need to do a few reps of this to really start to feel it, that's great. Take your time. And then as you're doing that, notice how it helps you engage your core. Now maintain that pelvic tilt and then roll up the spine from there. Yeah, I'm not worried about how high I'm getting. I'm just going as high as I can without losing that pelvic tilt. Once you reach the top of your bridge, your glutes are contracted. I'm going to roll back down nice and slow with my tailbone touching the ground last. Let's go ahead and do that again. Tilt the tailbone, keep that core engaged. Glutes are engaged on the way up. Nice deep breath. And roll it back down. Go ahead and keep working here. If you ever feel knee pain in this particular movement, one thing you can do is put something like a yoga block or a small pillow or an unweighted ball between your knees. Nice deep breath. We're going to go ahead and do a few more here. Another way you can make this more challenging at home if you don't have access to weights or bands is adding a pause at the top. Maybe it's 2 seconds, maybe it's 5 seconds, but that will help create a little bit more tension on those glutes. Go and do one more nice deep breath and back down. All right, take a rest for a moment. We're going to repeat that again. If that felt challenging enough for you, you're just going to repeat that. If you want something a little bit harder, I'm going to show you a few different variations. The next most challenging variation is going to be a single leg bridge. Again, if you want to stick with the both feet down, you're going to stay there. This starts the same way. I'm still going to find that pelvic tilt. Nice deep breath in and lift up. Slowly rolling back down. Now, this may not go up as high as a regular bridge, and that's perfectly fine. When you're working here, besides that pelvic tilt, what I want you to really focus on, again, is that foot. Am I scrunching my toes? Is my ankle wobbling? We want to find a nice, solid platform here so that we're giving ourselves good stability all the way up the leg. We're going to do 2 more on this side and then switch legs. Or you're just going to keep going if you're working with both feet. All right. And you want to find that pelvic tilt each and every rep. Let's go ahead and switch legs. Nice deep breath. Set that foot up. Get your arch engaged and then lift from there. You'll notice, as always, one side might feel a little bit more wobbly. So just take your time. There's no rush. There's no need to move super, super fast. We always want to focus on form over fast. Find that pelvic tilt. Nice deep breath. Keep moving. You're going to do 3 more, whether you're doing 2 legs or 1 leg. Nice deep breath. And 1 more. Roll it on up. Nice and controlled. Roll it on down. All right, take a rest. We'll do that 1 more time. Now, if you found that single leg was way too hard, but 2 legs, if it didn't feel like enough of a challenge, you can also take a figure 4 or a B stance. So I'm just kind of bringing this heel out. In this position, it's still working this single leg, but because I have this other heel down, it is helping to support me a little bit. And that figure 4 creates a stretch on the opposite side of the hip, but again, a little bit more stability. So find whatever position works best for you. I'm going to go back to 2 legs here. Nice deep breath in, tilt that tailbone, and lift on up. If you're working nice and slow and really focusing on that form, every time you tilt that tailbone and scoop those hips, you should start to feel your core engage a little bit. As we go through the workout today, I want you to try and focus on making sure you can always feel a little bit of contraction through there. It's not going to burn the way it would in a plank, but our core is pretty much always working. Nice deep breath. We're going to do 5 more. Check in on those feet. Make sure not scrunching those toes. For 4. Breathe it out for 3. 2. And give me 1 more here. And we're all done with bridges. So hopefully by now, trying to build some heat in those glutes. We're going to come on up to a standing position. We're going to transition into some squats now. Now with our squats, everybody's hips are built differently. So I want you to find a position that feels the best for you, that provides the most amount of work to your legs, best range of motion without any pain. So for some of you, that might be more of a sumo stance with both of my toes turned out. It might be still a wide stance, but maybe parallel. Or it might be more of a narrow stance here. Or you can play around with all of the positions. What you're going to do first before you do your squats is your foot screw. You want to find that foot screw, activate the arch, find that foot screw on the other side, activate the arch, and feel free to place your hands wherever feels best for you. You can always reach them out or put them on a chair if you need help balancing. Now keep that arch active, take a nice deep breath, and here we go. As you're working on this first set here, I want you to focus on keeping your arch active. That's goal number 1 here. If I'm keeping that arch active without lifting or scrunching my toes, I'm really making sure that I'm balanced, which is always important for our workouts, But also the ankles help to align the knees, help to align the hips so that you don't feel this in your low back or your knees or anything like that. You just feel it working in your legs. Go ahead and do 2 more here. Make sure you're breathing and checking in on those arches. Let's do 1 more. And take a rest. And just like your bridges, if you have access to bands or dumbbells and you want to add those, you're more than welcome to. I'm going to turn to the side for this next set. And before you go, find that arch activation. I'm going to take more of a sumo stance here. Nice deep breath. Here we go. Now you should definitely start to feel the arches of your feet get a little bit more warmed up. So on this set, what I want you to add on to that is looking at your heel. You want to create a tripod. And by a tripod, I mean your heel, your pinky toe, and your big toe. All 3 are really connected to the ground without that arch of your foot collapsing in. This is another reason I really like to work out barefoot, because it helps to maintain that tripod a whole lot better. So you'll notice as I'm squatting, the back of my heel is neither collapsing inwards or lifting up off of the ground. Let's go ahead and do 2 more here. Nice deep breath. And last one. And take a rest. So as you're working, hopefully you're finding a squat stance that feels really good for you, starting to feel the arch of that footwork. Now, as we do our next and final set of squats, we've worked the foot and the ankle, starting to pay attention to that. I'm going to give you a couple of options. When you're squatting or doing a lunge, if you have a little bit more of an upright torso and those knees are going slightly more forward, again, without the heel lifting, that's going to be a little bit more quad based. If you allow yourself to hinge back a little bit further, and as I'm squatting, my knees aren't going quite over my toes, they're staying more in line with my ankles, that's going to be more glute based. Neither is right or wrong. It depends on what feels best for your body, first and foremost, or if you have a specific muscle group you're trying to work more. So let's go ahead for round 3. You can find that nice strong arch with your foot screw first. And I'm going to show a couple of variations here. Ready? Big inhale, exhale, and down. So you'll notice my heels are still on the ground, but I'm letting those knees go a little bit more forward here. As I do that, I definitely feel those quads start to work. Doesn't mean my glutes aren't working. I'm just getting a little bit more tension through those glutes. And now if I let my hips shift back a little bit, almost like I'm trying to sit in an imaginary chair behind me, and my knees aren't going forward quite as much, heels are still on the ground, quads are still working, but now I'm going to get a little bit more glute work as I go. 1 more. And take a rest. Some of us have a natural pattern that feels better for our body. Some of us, most of us, have some type of limitation in the ankles and or the hips that makes one feel better than the other. So what I encourage you to do is whichever variation felt the best for you, work on improving that with your strength, adding a heavier weight, doing more reps, more sets, and the more uncomfortable variation, still work on it to help improve range of motion, but it may take a little bit more time. Next, we're going to work on some lunges. Because this requires a little bit more balance work, again, feel free to place your hands on a wall or a chair nearby. Just like your squats, if I'm a little bit more upright and I'm allowing that knee to go more forward, I'm going to get more quad. If I hinge my hips back, knee is going to be more over ankle, I'm going to get more of my glute. Whatever you prefer. So find your split stance here. Make sure the back heel is lifted. All 10 toes are facing forward, and I'm not allowing that back foot to turn out here. Nice deep breath. And go ahead and begin. You'll notice that my front working leg, that knee is in line, kind of tracks down towards the center of my ankle. So it ends up being in line with about the second or third toe. Really just depends on how wide your foot is here. Right now I'm a little bit more upright. So again, I'm feeling a little bit more through that quad. Let's do 3 more here. Nice deep breath with each and every one. Check in on that knee. Check in on your arch. Make sure that's still working. Last one. And take a rest. Now, before you switch sides, always find your balance first. Check on your form first. So I'm going to first make sure that arch of that foot is working. If it's helpful to go back into that foot screw each and every time, do that until it becomes very natural to just go right into. Now with this second side, I'm going to go ahead and hinge my hips back just to show you a different variation. And up. So now I'm working a little bit more through that glute because you'll see my knee is tracking over my ankle rather than pushing forward over my toes. This really depends on what feels the best for you. Let's go ahead and do 3 more. Check in on the arch of that foot and try not to scrunch your toes up. Give me 1 more. And take a rest. Woo! Should be feeling some good heat built up in those legs. And hopefully, if you've tried both variations of lunges, you know which one maybe feels better for you today. All right, let's go back to that first side here and find that balance. Hinge back or stay more upright, whatever feels good. Nice deep inhale, nice slow exhale, and here we go. Again, arch of that foot is activated, and I'm taking my time. As you're working through a lunge, it's really important to remember my front leg is my working leg. So even though I have weight in that back foot to help keep me balanced, I have most of my weight in that front leg and I'm not shifting it into that back leg. Let's do 2 and 1 and take a rest. So what I mean by that is as you're coming up out of your lunge, regardless of which variation you're doing, you want to make sure you're not shifting back into that foot. So as you're working, you'll notice my heel stays up, like it's pointed up towards the ceiling. So as I'm working, go ahead and start your second side here. My toes are spread out in the back, but that heel is not dropping down. That's really going to make sure that I get most of that work through that front leg. As a little extra bonus, helps build a little bit more mobility through that back ankle, which is also a bonus. Let's do 2 and 1 and take a rest. We'll do that 1 more time. If you're starting to feel very exhausted, or maybe you're feeling really wobbly and you want to do this last set as a squat again, perfectly fine, or maybe go back to a bridge, but just keep moving. So last and final set here. I'm going to show you from the side here to show the glute variation 1 more time. Again, I'm going to hinge, still keeping my core engaged. Find your tripod, heel down, ball of that pinky toe, ball of that big toe, and I'm going to engage the arch. Always check in with that foot first, and here we go. Again, back heel, nice and lifted. I'm doing the glute variation here, so you'll notice that knee is tracking closer to being over my ankle rather than going over my toes. Nice deep breath. Let's do 5, 4, 3, keep moving, you got this. 2, give me 1 more. And take a rest. Very good. We'll do 1 more on the other side to even ourselves out. Remember, even though this is a unilateral, means basically single leg exercise, you only have 1 nervous system. So rather than jumping from 1 leg right to the other, give yourself a few deep breaths to calm that nervous system down and get ready for the other side. So for this final set, rather than showing the glute variation, I'll show the quad variation. Here we go. Check in on the arch of that front foot. Check in on the tripod of that front foot. And check in on that knee, staying in line with those toes. You got this. You're almost done. Keep that heel pressing down, making sure it's not lifting or dropping in. Let's go ahead and do 2 more. 2 and 1, and take a rest. All right, we're gonna do one more exercise. I promise this is it. So for this, I'm gonna show holding onto my chair. You can also hold onto the wall. I'm gonna do a calf raise. Now with your calf raises, I don't want you worrying about how high you're getting up. Yeah, we're gonna go back to that pelvic tilt that you did on the floor with your bridges. So holding onto your chair or the wall, I'm gonna tilt that tailbone down towards the ground so the front of my hips can kind of scoop up. You might feel your glutes engage a little bit there. Perfectly fine. Spread those toes wide, and they're gonna press through your big toes. So find your pelvic tilt, and you're gonna lift through your big toes, control down. Now, as you're working here, especially on the way down, it's really easy for our bodies to start to allow that low back to sway. So I want you to check in on that. I'm only lifting as high as I can without losing that pelvic tilt, keeping those toes nice and spread out. Let's just do 3 more here. Big deep breath for 3, for 2, and 1, and take a rest. With each and every rep, please make sure you're getting your heel to all the way come back down to the ground. We're not stopping short. We're gonna let that Achilles and your calf fully lengthen and fully rest on the ground. All right, 1 down, 2 to go. Now again, as you're tilting that tailbone and spreading those toes, now on this next set, if it feels okay on your neck, you can take a peek down at your toes. Notice if you're starting to roll towards your pinky toes a whole lot on both, or maybe on just one side. Is it the same side that was harder for you to do your foot screw on? So again, we're starting to put those puzzle pieces together here. Let's do 2 more, then take a rest. And take a rest. We'll do 1 more set. Now, of course, if this is far too easy for you, you can always hold a dumbbell in one hand and switch it halfway through. Alternatively, again, you can always go to a full single leg motion as well. So there are always ways to make it more challenging. Those are just a few of them. So 1 more. Again, take a look at those feet, spread your toes, activate that arch, and tilt your tailbone. Nice deep breath. Here we go. Control down. So you're fighting gravity on the way down here rather than just flopping your heels down. You want to make sure you're controlling in both directions. By now, the arches of your feet and your calves should really be feeling this. Let's do 2, and let's do 1, and take a rest. Really, really good work here. All right, real quick, we're going to come on down to the floor and give ourselves a little bit of active mobility with one of my favorite stretches, a 90-90. So in this position, if you're noticing that you're hunching a lot through your spine and upper back, you can take a couple of yoga blocks or a large pillow and place them underneath your hips to help you lengthen up out of that spine. In my 90-90 position here, I'm not letting those feet come in close. With my front foot, my heel is out in line with my knee, and same thing with that back foot, heel in line with my knee. Use your hands to kind of help lift that chest so you're not slumping down. The goal is to externally rotate the back hip as far as you can without your front hip moving. Once you've reached your max external rotation, you're gonna nice and slow come on over to the other side. If your feet slid in during that, pause here, slide them back out. Same thing on this side. I'm going to externally rotate as far as I can without that front hip moving, and back and forth. Nice and tall through that chest. We're going to do just a few more on each side. And just like everything else, you'll notice one side has a lot more external rotation than the other side. It's perfectly normal. We're never going to be 50-50. However, when we're really lacking mobility in a certain area, that's where we start to get hip pain, knee pain, back pain, shoulder pain, etc. So if you're noticing, wow, this one hip really does not like this movement, and this is also the side I happen to get knee pain on, this might be your new favorite exercise to do every day before you go to bed or before you take a walk. If this feels like enough, just do a couple more like this. If you want to add a little bit more of a glute stretch, every time you're going to add just a slight hinge forward until you feel a glute stretch on that front leg. Let's go ahead and do one more. Nice deep breath. You're almost done. And take a rest. So that's just a quick example of 4 bodyweight exercises you can do anytime, anywhere. Remember, fitness starts from the ground up. Take care of those feet and they will take care of you. And if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to any of the staff. And if you want any more one-on-one attention for your body, just let me know and we can always set up personal training.